Yeah, I got the game all in my hand, ooh.
What's going on, everyone? I am Christian, Mr. All the Above, ENT here, and I don't know about you, but me, personally, I am very excited for Antman and the Wasp, Quantumania. It is a movie that I've been waiting for a very long time, what feels like a very long time now, and today I get to see it. Now, I haven't saw it yet. I just really wanted to give my before and after reaction of seeing the movie because, especially for this one, it's going to be interesting of my expectations of it going into the movie because it was one that I was very excited for. I've been excited for. My excitement level is still pretty high. But as it currently stands, the ratings aren't too hot on Marvel's first movie of Phase 5, which, gonna be real with you, as somebody who watches Rotten Tomatoes pretty heavily, it hurts just a little bit. It stings. But also, I don't know other people's expectations going into this movie, but I do know mine, however, and I've heard a bunch of reviews of the movie so far and what they like and what they don't like, and this isn't really going to be a review or anything like that. It's really just going to be thoughts and feelings of how I felt before and after. So let's get right into it, guys. I am very excited. As I said, this is the first movie of Phase 5, and, say whatever you want about Phase 4. I might be a Marvel fan to the point where I just kind of like everything they put out, and I think everything's at least good. Might not be great, but it's at least good, or even meh to me gets the job done sometimes in my little Marvel heart. But starting off the phase, this is a tough position to be in because Ant-Man is the final chapter, at least I think the final chapter, of a franchise, but it is the first chapter of a phase that also has to build up and introduce Kang, who's going to be the new big bad, while also, having Ant-Man end as what I imagine to be a trilogy off on a good note. So they're going to be in a tough predicament to do that. I wonder how exactly they pulled that off. Me, personally, I enjoyed both other Ant-Man movies. I thought they were a really, really fun time, and they stand alone as their own movie, and you could watch them. I just watched them actually 2 days ago and today as their own movie. But now more than ever, this is literally the introduction to what at least is appearing as a long-standing villain in Kang, who we have to take as a formidable threat to not only Ant-Man, who, let's be real, he's Ant-Man, but to eventually the Avengers. So I'm interested mostly on how do they build Kang. We got a little tease of him with Loki. I'm looking forward to see how they tell the origin of a man that has been around for eons and eons of years. So very interested, obviously, for Kang, and from what I hear, Jonathan Majors knocks it out of the park, and that's not the problem with the movie. I'm excited for all the Marvel surprises, and I hope that there is some in here. I feel like every Marvel movie is pretty much, you go there for the experience, and I do want that Marvel experience with some surprises, with some cameos, with a good after credit scene that it sounds like we do get, so I'm excited for that as well. And then obviously, it's an Ant-Man movie, so I'm there for Ant-Man, and at least for this one, and I didn't realize it in the other two movies that I liked it so much until I rewatched them recently, but I really am there for the relationship of Ant-Man and Cassie. I do fully expect, guys, I haven't seen the movie yet, so no spoilers possibly that I can say now. Gonna be real with you, after probably has spoilers, but haven't seen the movie yet. I think Cassie's gonna be a future Young Avenger. So I'm interested to see how they plant the seeds or maybe even grow the plant entirely on that relationship with Cassie and Ant-Man and really the development of her character entirely. So I'm going into the movie really looking forward to those two things and to see how it plays along as another episode of a Marvel, really every Marvel movie at this point feels like, at least to me, an episode of a whole saga. And I feel like that's part of what I've heard of the bad reception being. I felt like the reception of Phase 4 was, it feels like it was building towards nothing. And then from what I'm hearing about this movie, it seems like it's building towards not too much, but it's just building and it doesn't really go nowhere in the film itself. Maybe it goes somewhere later down the road, but as of right now, it doesn't stand alone as just a single entity of a movie and the closing entity of a franchise. At the end of the day, the way I like my Marvel movies are good experience, a good time, and a good episode of an entire saga that I know is being played out, years in advance. So I'm a different consumer than maybe just the average consumer that's, hasn't possibly seen Loki, or, maybe they haven't seen all the Marvel movies, because at this point they're just, it's coming every day now, it feels like. So as somebody who's well invested into the lore of Marvel and the MCU particularly, maybe I give them a bit longer of a leash because I'm here for the long term, where maybe some other viewers are just there for the moment. But regardless, I'm looking forward to it, and I truly would be disappointed if the movie ends up to be a dud. I haven't felt a dud of a Marvel movie in quite some time. I probably say the closest I got to that was Eternals, but even before then, I couldn't tell you the last full dud in my eyes that didn't feel like a good episode of a Marvel saga. So it's going to be interesting to see how my feelings are coming out of it. So I asked my future self that. Is this a good movie? Does it stand alone? Does it end the Ant-Man, trilogy? If it is the ending, does it end it strong? And really, how badass is Kang? We're about to find out, and I'm about to let you know in 3, 2, 1. So I saw the movie, and I gotta say, I enjoyed it. I really did. I had a good time with it. It felt like another fun installment of what is going to be a very fun ride to another eventual Avengers movie, with Kang obviously being the head of that. So I feel like the conversation and the big talking point out of this movie is Kang. So let's talk about Kang right away, because this is very much so a Kang-oriented movie. Kang was an absolute menace. This is our real introduction to the character, since now we're beyond the He Who Remains, and He Who Remains is now dead. This is our real introduction to Kang, or one of our introductions to Kang. I wonder how many times we are going to have to be introduced to Kang, and that's going to be a question I want to cover a little later, but this was this incarnation of Kang, and this Kang was trapped in the quantum realm. He was exiled into the quantum realm, and really, for this Kang, I absolutely loved him. He was a menace. The presence of Kang was felt both on and off of the screen, and I do emphasize off because for the first half of the movie, we really don't see Kang, and then once we do see him, it's all I want to see. And this Kang is exactly what I was hoping for. My biggest problem with Kang has nothing to do with Jonathan Majors and his performance. My biggest problem with Kang in this movie is simply how he went out, and some of his level of power in general, because you do have to consider this guy to be the next Avengers holistic threat, and he has now been defeated by both a Loki and an Antman. So I just hope we don't overuse the defeat of Kang. But let's be real, he did go out pretty weak. There will be spoilers, guys, starting now. He got defeated by an army of ants. I was kind of bummed out about them doing that, but I'm glad he got to throw some fisticuffs with Ant-Man, and at least show, because that was his, we saw a little bit of Kang's powers and power set. I do feel like this was just a tease. This was really just them slightly showing us what's behind the curtain when it comes to Kang, because we have a lot more, and it's very clear that we have a lot more, and I'm glad we did get to see him actually go dukes up against Ant-Man, and he looks like not only is he ready for Ant-Man, but he's ready for Creed in a month and some change, because, man, he was giving him the beats. But I loved what I saw out of Kang. I wish we possibly could have had him go out just a little stronger. Ultimately, he ends up going out by... They defeated him. They didn't kill him. We really don't know where Kang is, if he is dead. I'm going to be real. I don't think he is dead. I think he was sent to either a different part of the quantum realm or a different side of a multiverse universe. Who knows? There is even theories, and again, this is just all theories and speculation, but there is theories that maybe this Kang, the one that got bounced and exiled out of now the quantum realm, can possibly be the Kang to be the Beyonder of the next Secret Wars movie, which would be pretty cool, where if that Kang was the one who really gathered up all the heroes and villains, or however they're going to end up doing it, and he was the one who brings them to Battleworld. But long time down the road. Let's take it one step at a time. But as far as this step goes, I enjoyed the journey. I enjoyed the episode of what was Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and to talk about, some of the main characters, Ant-Man. I honestly, as far as the Wasp and some of the others goes, this was very much so an Ant-Man and Cassie movie. That's how the trailers were marketing it as too, so it was what I was expecting, and it was one of the questions I had going into the movie, which was, what do I get out of Ant-Man and Cassie? Do I like them? How do I feel about Cassie in general? Because I do think she's going to be a next Young Avenger. And I think I got exactly that. We got a tale of Ant-Man and Cassie being lost in the quantum realm together. And we found out a lot more about teenage Cassie, and she already knows how to use her powers and take on Kang. So that's a big notch under your belt. You're far along this developmental path that I thought you were going to take. I guess that's one of my gripes of it, is they really just bounced to her being pretty dang solid with the suit, and she got some licks in on Kang, which is, like I said, that's an achievement in itself. So I'm interested to see where they take Cassie the character going from here, because I do think this should at least probably be the last Ant-Man movie. Maybe I would be down with seeing them in a show, but as far as a blockbuster goes, I don't know how many big grandioso stage set pieces you can have for an Ant-Man movie. I mean, I'm sure it's Marvel, and there's a levy of stories that they can tell, but and especially judging by the reception that this movie is getting, I don't know if there's another Ant-Man movie on the horizon. So it's going to be interesting to see how they build up Cassie moving forward along with the Ant-Man, because they might just maybe be having the mantle at the same time. I'm really curious to see where they do take it. But as far as their relationship goes in the movie and the characters we got in the movie, I mean, Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, he's a really damn good Ant-Man, man. I really enjoy him as a character. He knows what he's doing at this point, and this was another great performance from Ant-Man, and this was another great portrayal of him, and I really enjoyed the comedic timing of a lot of his jokes. I feel like he was one of the main comedic points of the movie, and I felt like I wasn't overbeared by jokes, but at the same time I got nice timely humor along the ride of this movie. As far as Cassie goes, I'm interested in it so far. I want to see how they continue to build her as we head into the next Young Avengers stage of things that I think we're going into, because I really honestly care about Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, and I care about even some of the other Young Avengers we're leaning towards. I really obviously care about Shang-Chi. So it's going to be interesting to see Cassie's journey to get on that scale and get on that level where we regard some of the other heroes. Because right now, I'm not quite there just yet. As far as the others, I mean, Hank Pym ended up saving the day at the end of the day, but we didn't really have much else from him. And then Janet, this told the story of Janet's experience within the quantum realm, and we went down a few memory lanes for her and people that she had prior experiences with in the past. And I enjoyed the fact that the character of Janet was able to further along, different locations of the quantum realm we were able to visit, and she was pretty much a tour guide of the quantum realm at a certain point of the movie. And I wish we could have even spent more time in the quantum realm. And it could have been pretty fun, because I'm sure it's a big world, even though it's a tiny world. I'm sure it's a very, very big world. And there's probably a lot we didn't really uncover just yet. And maybe there is more to still be uncovered later. I just feel like we're probably out of here for right now. And that's where I do think their advantage is within television over the Marvel movies. Because I feel like in general, this movie could have been helped by an extra 30, 45 minutes, because we could have had just more to explore. And when we get the TV series, the limited series, we got almost 6 hours most of the time of the world that they're building and the story that they're trying to tell. And instead, they're trying to tell it in 2 hours and some change. So it's interesting comparing it to Loki, which is the comparison I would have for it, just because I feel like it takes place in the same space. And that's where it gets interesting on how I view this movie, because I had a really, really good time with it. I thought it was a fun episode, but it was really just that. It was an episode, a part of their journey, which is all I want when I go into these movies, because what did I expect out of an Ant-Man movie entering the Quantumania? I mean, what they laid out for me is exactly what I think I got. I know a few people were saying that they felt the story was all over the place. I personally felt like it was a very simple story that they were telling, and that if it did feel all over the place, well, it's Quantumania. It's supposed to be a little manic. It's supposed to be a little wacky. So I didn't mind any of that. I think that was part of the intention. Now, could they have done some better job editing? I don't know. I'm not a critic, so I'm not here to criticize in all reality. I'm just here to give some thoughts. And my thoughts are that I had a good time with this movie. I had some good laughs with this movie. I walked out thinking, damn, Kang looks good. But also interested to see what is like the ultimate form of Kang, which brings me into the post-credit scene, which was 2 more scenes of Kang. And at this point, I just don't want to be like Kanged out or be in a predicament where they possibly overuse Kang. And I just don't want to see Kang be defeated too many times. I already saw him get defeated twice. I don't want to keep on seeing Kang lose and then have to take him serious when it's time that the movie wants us to take him serious. Because I do feel a serious threat within Kang, but so far he's 0 for 2. So it's going to be interesting how they bridge it moving forward. We did get the Council of Kang scene as an end credit scene. And again, I'm interested to see how that happens. Are we going to see a gang of Kangs? That rhymes. Take on the Avengers. Is that a possible route that they go? Or do they figure out and maybe Kang just has an all-out war with themselves and we get a superior Kang coming out of it? And then that's the one who goes up against the Avengers. Or maybe I have it all wrong and I have no real idea of what's happening, because that's probably more realistic in reality. But guys, ultimately, I had a good time with the movie. I see the reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be regarded as one of the worst MCU movies ever, which I don't think it deserves the rep of having. I don't think you could truly say with a straight face that this movie isn't on par with at least the other Ant-Man movies. I enjoyed the other Ant-Man movies. I enjoyed this movie. Which one do I like the most? I don't know. I'm probably going to see this movie a few more times to gauge that. I've seen the other ones at least 4 or 5 times, so I have a better recollection of them. But I'm going to go back to this movie for Kang. And I'm going to go back to this movie for an experience within the quantum realm. And that's what I would go back to this movie for, where in the other movies, you're probably only going back to the movie to go see Ant-Man. And that's not a problem by any means. It's an Ant-Man movie, but I just don't see how you can possibly say that this movie is worse than those other ones. It had a lot of similar qualities, and it upped the scale and was visually very, very pleasing for most of the movie. I know everybody can nitpick something about it. So I'm not here to judge on whatever you might be nitpicking about. But personally, I don't really have any nitpicks besides the ones I said. I'm not here to dissect everything individually and say what I would have done or what should have done. But I'm here to just say my experience while watching it, and I had a good time while watching it. As far as where this lands within the new phase, it's going to be interesting because this is the introduction and it's off to a rough start critically. So I want to see how Marvel personally pivots from here, especially because I don't think all the reception was deserved in reality. I think in comparison to some of the other movies we've gotten, that it falls on that level too. I think this is better than Thor: The Dark World. I think this is better than Thor: Love and Thunder. I have my own personal gripes with Eternals, which really is just the fact that I was bored for some of it, but I liked Eternals, and I think this was better than Eternals. At least it was a more fun time than Eternals, and I probably would find myself going back more to this movie than Eternals. So I don't necessarily think it's the worst Marvel movie ever. I had a good time with it, and if I would have been disappointed, you would have seen disappointment on my face, and that's not that. I'm excited for the future to come, and I just hope we continue to get Kang, and they just maybe just don't make him look weak anymore. Like at this point, we've had enough of Kang where we saw some flaws in his body. Let's start building that Kang that we are going to see as a real conqueror, and one that is going to actually take on his own dynasty. So I think we will get that, and I think we just have to be patient and wait for the story that they're trying to tell. I do think in the grand scheme of things that this might be a movie where after they're done telling their story, we would enjoy this a lot better, and we can appreciate it more as the movie it was in the slate that it was in. So time is going to tell if that is correct, and if you've seen this movie, well, time is a fascinating subject.
Time.
So that is where I end my thoughts for today, but what do you guys think? What do you think of the movie? Where do you think Marvel can take the next series of events with Kang? That's really what I'm interested in. And also, where does this leave Ant-Man? Is this the last Ant-Man movie we get? Do you guys want to see more Ant-Man movies? That is another big question in itself. But that is a question that I hope I get to answer to down below in the comment section, guys. Thank you for watching as always. And hey, if I don't see you, have a good day, good evening, and good night.
Yeah, I got the game all in my hand, ooh, and yeah, pop out with the drip and make a fan drool. You could risk it if you want, this ain't no fan duel. Yeah, I'm in a Benz cool, yeah, stepping for the breeze.